Okay. So what got you interested in one-on-one coaching?
Yeah, so honestly, I back in like 2016, 2017, the golden era,
Yep.
I was on trajectory, just I was getting in top 500. It was I started having dreams of actually being good at this game.
Huh.
And then just as balance changed and as my life changed, I fell off it. But then I've been ever since Overwatch 2, I've been trying to get back into it, and I've been wanting to get higher than I ever got before back in Overwatch 1. So, I mean,
Makes
I've been going
sense.
through a lot of life stuff that's been sort of, derailing that a little bit.
That's
But
always how it happens. It's like you're like, oh, I've got everything situated, but then
yeah,
something external comes in, and you're just like out the cooker. I know how that goes.
yeah, exactly. But
Right.
basically, I've always believed that I have the capability to be really, really excellent at this game. And I've
Sure.
seen it in flashes, but I
Okay.
cannot capture that consistently at all. And
Sure.
that's what I'm trying to fix.
Sure. Sure. So what particularly? Where did those flashes come from, and what did you see?
Yeah, well, I mean, back then the game was simpler, so I just this is when I was first good at the game. I was just able to really understand the interactions and the hero matchups and the timings, and there was just such a, it's what makes Overwatch is just that interplay that doesn't feel like any of these other competitive games. And I always felt like I was able to understand the game better than the other people I was playing with, and like my mechanics when I was like a Winston player, my mechanics were pretty decent, but that's not like
That's
hitting
ironic.
heads. Yeah, yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but it's all movement.
True. True.
So
Exactly.
so yeah, I never had the like shroud aim, but I was always able to be to excel in other aspects, and I always found that so interesting because there's so few games where you get to excel in something other than aim and be a top competitor. So that passion really, and I was a sort of the shot caller back when I was like a main tank. Um, so
Of
those were sort of my specialties where I was able to like lead my team to victory in
course.
like high rank lobbies.
Sure, sure. Okay, okay. I mean, I'm looking at your form here, and you definitely have a little bit of an anomaly, and even how you're describing it, where you have like you kind of are a jack of all trades, and at a
Yeah,
relatively high level. Okay, so how long has that always been the way that you've played, even back in 2016, or is that just kind of something that's developed recently?
that's how it's developed. So yeah, I used to just be a main tank main, just out like hundreds of hours of Reinhardt and Winston, and then as the balance changed and as the way I added roll lock, that's when I got really into Reaper. Um, and in
Weird.
Overwatch 2, I know. In Overwatch 2, I have not been super satisfied with playing tank because, the balance is shifting every patch, and most of the
Yep.
time it's not a hero that I'm good at.
Okay.
And the just so punishing that I've mainly been playing Reaper now.
Okay. 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 And is that where you're happy though? Is that like the long term
Yeah,
approach, or has that just been kind of like what keeps me in the game for right now?
yeah, it's a bit of a column A, a bit of column B. My dream goal is to be top 500 on both tank and DPS. But I know that's super ambitious.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. It's doable, but it's ambitious. Now, you talked about your shroud level aim, or
My
lack
not shroud
of.
level aim.
Yeah, yeah, or
Yeah.
lack of, right? So, it was the Reaper choice kind of a consequence of that, or is it something that you felt like you got pushed into, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I'm enjoying my stay. This is actually not too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the thing is I ended up finding that I found it very enjoyable and very interesting. The
Okay.
positioning, timing, rotations, just
Yeah.
it has that brain stuff that I always enjoyed playing tank.
Okay. Okay. Good. 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 I mean, as long as you're not bullying yourself into playing a quote unquote lower mechanical requirement character. I don't know that
Yeah,
Reaper is that, but yeah.
I have I'm serviceable on soldier when I need to be, so
Okay.
I've
Okay.
been
If
practicing
you
that
like
to
playing
make sure I'm
Reaper,
level
then you
130.
can play Reaper. I think top 500 with Reaper will be tricky and certainly more meta dependent, but it's
Yeah,
doable. It's definitely doable.
yeah,
I mean, I think top 500 with any character is doable. But okay, sounds good. So the goal for you then is Reaper top 500 for sure, and then
yeah.
potentially
For right
tank.
now, yeah,
Potentially
yeah. I
tank.
like I just haven't been playing tank, so I don't have any vods for you. I don't have enough
That's
short-term
fine. That's fine.
experience.
That's fine. Where does support fall into that category? Because you even put a couple of support characters on your form, at least when you filled it out. Is that just
Yeah, I
fully
get
back burner?
fully back burner. I guess I just thought I should list everything I play.
That's fine. That's fine. I mean, obviously, like you can probably guess that like the fewer characters you play, the easier it is it's going to be to improve.
Hmm.
So if something's on the back burner, I'm not going to complain.
Okay,
So
cool.
that's fine. Okay, so what do you hope you get out of the session? I'd like to get a framework of the direction I should be focusing on to improve at the game. I have a decent idea of where I'm going wrong, and I've done a lot of work in my personal life to free up time and mental resources dedicated to Overwatch. I need to make sure I'm utilizing these opportunities to optimally to improve. Okay, so tank is on the back burner, support's on the back burner,
Mhm.
and Reaper just Reaper for right now. When does
Just for right
76? When does 76 come into play? Is that a everything feels terrible, or is that something that do you ever play 76?
Yeah. So like Circuit Royal has been my boon for practicing 76 because I'm not a total masochist, so I often just end up going Soldier 76.
Yeah.
It's usually like Reaper isn't working, my team isn't trying to play with that style, and I just need to stop throwing. So I
Yeah.
go Soldier 76 so I can just do range damage and not
Okay.
be wasting everybody's time.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. I mean that's a reasonable decision. I think as long as you have like a base level. But if it's a super niche situation, then we don't need to put a lot of effort into it. To be honest with you. Okay. Now structure here. So you play Overwatch 3 hours a day, 3 to 4 times a week on average. Okay. So how is that time spent?
Yeah, so I usually start with a quick play, some deathmatch, just warming up, and then I hop right into just solo queuing comp.
Okay.
Well, actually, sometimes I should say sometimes I do some aim training for like 15 minutes at the start of the session, but that's only sometimes.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. I think Reaper is going to be one of the characters where you'll benefit a lot from deathmatch and probably only deathmatch, just because it's just like getting your raw aim mechanics warmed up.
Yeah.
But I guess for you is it's like how long are those deathmatch queues going to be? Because you're at a rank right now where like there's a chance that it's going to be a little long, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's really up to you. Let's keep going here. So I think structure wise are okay. I guess the only other little nitpick I'd add is if you were able to condense your playtime into shorter sessions but spread out more across more days, that would probably be a slightly more efficient than what you're doing right now. But I don't know if that is possible with your current schedule. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Gotcha. It might be, yeah.
Okay. Goals. We talked about that. Ultimate top 500. You understand like what it's going to require. I would say the more I've coached, the more I realize that there aren't hard rules about what's required. For me to achieve ranks when I was not as good at the game, it required 3 hours a day, 6 days, 7 days a week for me to get a Grandmaster back in 2017, 2018. But as I've gotten better at the game and understood the game more and more and more, just from coaching it more, that requirement, I think like I don't play the game much at all, but I can very easily maintain like high masters, mid-high masters on all roles, even on characters I'm not very good at, almost without even playing at all. So I think it depends on the person. I've met people that have maintained. I met a Symmetra OTP that was top 500 and played the game only 2 or 3 hours a week.
Wow, okay.
That they had put a lot of hours in previously, but to sustain that skill took like a lot less effort. So for you, you're obviously like trying to push a little higher than where you're at right now. So you are going to need to put it's harder to improve, right? You got to kind of break homeostasis, and so that's where like you might need to put a little bit more hours. But even then, I'm always surprised at how little or how much it depends on the person, really. So what we could do is I could say that your hours in terms of like the median amount of what most people are on the lower end for top 500, for sure. Not by a lot, but by a little bit. Like, for example, the average person that wants to reach top 500 would probably benefit from 3 hours a day for 5 or 6 days a week, right? But I also know many people that have reached top 500 with even fewer hours than where you are right now. So it depends on the person, depends on, more importantly, on the energy and focus that you're putting in those hours, which I'm sure you're
right.
Okay. What do you feel is only back from improving? Mechanics are honestly pretty good for tank main. They get better once I'm actually like grinding. Mentality used to be pretty poor. I got flamed by teammates. I've worked on myself mentally and spiritually to the point where I have a much more equanimity than I used to. And I don't let my sense of self-worth get defined by others anymore. That's impressive. That's hard. My real weakness comes in the form of spotty game understanding as well as focus. Back when 2 comps were Dive and Deathball, I always had the best game understanding of anyone on my team. But as I lost interest around the time of Goats, and then Orisa became meta again, and many new supports came out, I completely fell behind on understanding the diversity of play. I'll often go to make a play while lacking any confidence to actually understand what to do. Self-fulfilling prophecy and so on. Right. Okay. Makes sense. We'll take a look. I also recently discovered that I had undiagnosed inattentive ADHD my whole life. I think this was the actually benefit to me when I was obsessed with Overwatch as a teen. Now it means that when I'm not as highly passionate about the game, my mind tends to drift. I'll often find myself about to die and overextend position and realize I was playing on autopilot for the last 20 seconds. Sleeping better, eating healthy, exercising, meditating daily, and also on a low dose prescription. So all of the above have helped me to focus better, but I still find that I have about 3 hours mental energy to play good focus hours before reaching. I mean, that's normal, right? I think that's normal. I think like obviously, especially with your setbacks as it is, 3 hours is great. That's really good.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's normal is what I would say, and especially
Gotcha.
You'd have to reevaluate like how often am I autopiloting? Like at the end of the 3 hours, am I like literally like I'm catching myself an hour 1 or 2, like checking out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like to an extent, like here's the thing is like no the thing is like on your first game of the day when you were fully focused, like let's say you got 45 hours of sleep and you
Right.
you drank like 7 cups of coffee and you are like totally wired, full energy, you would still autopilot a few fights every game.
Mm.
I mean, that's the crazy thing is nobody can be fully focused all the time, almost
Yeah.
ever. I think it's impossible. Flow state, fully focused, full intensity, whatever you want to call it, is something that's a spectrum, right? There will be when you're focused. What you're saying is that there is a certain percentage in my brain of focus that I say is focused, and I'm matching that percentage, right? Hey, I
Okay.
only caught myself autopiloting once in the past 5 minutes, right?
Right.
So for you, is it's just understanding that like catching yourself that you've autopilot for 20 seconds is not a problem because you caught yourself, right? Catching
Yeah.
yourself autopiloting every single team fight is it's a problem,
Yeah.
right? And that's when you might need to be like, okay, I either need to work at that or maybe I need to call it for the day. And
Hmm.
so I guess for you, it's just don't be too upset. I mean, I've even made a video on this, like called the 2 fight rule, which is basically like, if you're really busy, you're really tired person, by the time you start playing Overwatch, it might just be okay to be focused for only a couple of fights per game.
Mm.
For you, obviously the bar should be set a little higher, but don't set it at an impossible height, is what I would say.
Okay. That makes sense.
Just continually reevaluate and also reevaluate like what like this is why we're here, right? To look at your gameplay and give you
Mm.
direction with what you should be thinking about.
Yeah.
Because something's going to have to be on autopilot. A lot of things are going to have to be on autopilot, but maybe it's not your positioning, maybe it's not your cooldown usage, maybe it's not your target priority, and so on.
Right. Okay.
Okay, sleep looks good. Obviously, I don't really have any other questions. Do you have any other questions for me?
Um, I don't think so. I do want to say before we end up looking at the VOD, um, this is not my best work.
That's
Like
fine.
all my VODs are like I just the past few days I've been actually like a few weeks ago I quit caffeine, so maybe that's why.
Mm, mm.
But the past few days I've just been sort of brainless queuing, and I was down to master 1 for a minute. So these clips are gonna be like me playing at a low GM level, which
That's
is
fine.
not the best. It's not the best I'm capable of, but maybe if we analyze my worst gameplay, we'll learn my worst
Sure.
mistakes.
And also we can ask questions too about like, hey, was this just a stupid error that like I don't know, I was
Mhm.
then whatever, we skip over those, but like this more like the
Okay.
systemic issues of like, why were you making these decisions? Why were you
Right.
going for this position and so on? And specifically
Yes.
for you, it's like the understanding, like, like
Yep.
what am I missing that I should be understanding and so on. Okay.
Yes.
Do you want to send over a code?
Yes, I do.
Get the stream started here. Out. Okay, let's take a look here. So, high masters, low GM essentially. Uh, Reaper. Now, Reaper's an
Yeah.
interesting one. What's your understanding of the character? Like, what is your? I've played this character long enough to know that this is what this guy does, kind of a thing.
Yeah. As in the play style.
Sure.
Yeah, I just basically target of opportunity, looking for chances to get in the back line to get a shadow step uh,
Right.
flank, and then to put the pressure on to try to find favorable 1v1s. But even if I can't get a kill, I'm just looking to get pressure, wraith out to safety, look to go again. And then
Right.
if the enemy tank happens to be like super aggressive or he's nuts, then I'll switch my focus over to pressuring the tank before I go
Sure.
back into squishies again.
Sure, exactly. The way I look at Reapers, there's like a lot of tanks that actually function like a Reaper, which is a bit ironic, where you
Mm-hmm.
have so many opportunities and targets. Like a tank does pretty good versus the enemy tank. Most tanks do. I mean, Winston may be an exception, but Reinhardt can beat on enemy tanks, right? A Jungler Queen can beat on enemy tanks. Orisa, Diva, like all of them have good, decent tank damage. At least mostly neutral. But there's always going to be opportunities where if you have the cooldowns or you have the HP or you have the opportunity, you would like to kill backline, right? Like, let's say we're playing Jugger Queen. If she has Shout and she has that Gracie, if she hits that Gracie on the enemy tank, okay, that's fine, damage and whatever. But if I hit a Gracie on a Zenyatta, pull the guy off high ground, I've got Shout. You know what I'm saying? Like that's something that I need to go for. Like that's an opportunity. But in the meantime, I can kind of play passively. So Reaper is like one of those characters where it's not just like, oh, I have Wraith, I can do the Wraith is what allows you to go for those higher risk plays.
Mm-hmm.
It's that cooldown that you have in the back pocket. And then when you're parked in the neutral, what are you doing instead? Are you shooting the Winston? Are you shooting the Ana? Are you shooting the Symmetra? Are you shooting the Bastion or whatever? So for you is like, I want like, as long as you have that cooldown in the lower right, your mindset should be, I am looking for opportunities to squeeze the most value that I possibly can. What makes Reaper really hard, as you very well know, is the fact that cooldown isn't a guarantee. That's the problem. So like, let me put it this way. If you go here and you're like, oh, I have Wraith. There's the Bastion. Let me TP to the Bastion, way over here, shoot the guy, and Wraith back to my team. Well, you probably see the flaw in that logic. I don't know if you're going to get back, right? Like that's the problem is like, I don't know if I can get back. So what you need to do is you need to do one of two things. You either need to find an alternative escape route, which is where things get really tricky, where you're like, okay, I'm going to actually Wraith out to this mini here. Now, I know I don't have Wraith here, and I know that they might push me, but I know that I can live long enough that if they all turn and focus me down, my team will get a kill elsewhere. So you got to be really disciplined with timing. You got to know how mobile the enemy comp is. Maybe there's a health back. Maybe there's cover. Maybe they push you close here and you just one-shot somebody, right? So all of those little factors in play.
Yep.
The other play is, do I need to go for an aggressive play? Am I getting high value out of being conservative? Look for aggression later. So in other words, right now, the part of the problem with going for the TP play is it's so freaking far, such a high risk. But you know why that's also unnecessary? I mean, look at your screen, right? What are you seeing?
Yeah.
There's big value right now. You don't need it in so extra risk into the dirt. It's just right there. There's just value right here. However, as this guy, maybe the map opens up and opportunities, he goes for backline, that's when you need to start looking for their backline. Not only because you have the CD, but because there isn't immediate, obvious value here. Right? Everybody could be a wonderful investor if they had a time machine to go back and buy Apple stock, right? But when it's not so obvious to get value, that's kind of like where you separate the boys from the men. So right now, let's see what we got. So, any questions?
Not so far.
So only two things we're looking for. Am I getting value right now? Can I get more value? And I guess the mini question piggybacked off of the last one is, can I get more value because I have that cooldown, right?
Gotcha.
Like right now, you can kind of see like, hey, I'm still getting good value. I don't need to take unnecessary risks because I'm just freaking blowing this guy up.
Yeah.
But in theory, this would be like, let's say this is a Ryan Mir, or like, let's say this is an Orisa, or like, let's say this guy's playing more conservatively. This would not be a bad time to go for this TP play that we talked about. What would you do here? What would you do? Just like, let's just for the sake of argument, what would you approach? Or how would you approach this?
Man, well, if we're talking about my play style, it did not even occur to me to teleport in there because it seems like
it's not smart right now, right? Right.
Yeah.
It's good. But let's just say for the sake of practice, how would you approach it if you needed to?
Okay, I do like to go for that window teleport and see if somebody doesn't notice me and I can get a quick headshot on the drop down,
Yep,
and then
it's good.
Wraith as soon as they look to use cooldowns on me.
Yep, it's good. It's good. It's good. The trickiest part of Reaper that I find is that have you ever heard me talk about the tracer sandwich before?
Oh, I have. I forget what it means.
Okay, it's basically putting yourself between threats. The problem with going to window here is if you go for headshot, there's multiple targets that are not on your screen. It's still, I think, the right play, but it's the problem with Reaper is that you want to do things like TP behind, but then the problem with TPing behind is you don't know if you can get out.
Yeah.
That's what makes Reaper's mobility unique. And by unique, I mean crappy.
Yeah.
Is that you want to go behind people so that you don't have you see how you have everything on your screen from here, right?
Yep.
But what's the problem? I don't know if I can Wraith all the way back. So
Yep.
okay, that would be a good option. I think the TP on the floor option is probably also good as well. Maybe that's where you go for the Wraith out this way, out the corner. It's always thinking about like where can I get to with this Wraith? Like what you need to like stretch yourself, you know?
Yep.
Now this is 100% where you TP. Why?
Yeah, just to close that distance. There's such
Exactly.
an easy way to get behind all of them without anybody flanking me.
Exactly. Now, where do you TP? I mean, this is a question that would be obvious to you, but you need to ask yourself, like, what are you looking for?
Yeah. If I had this one back, I would just teleport mid door and flank that Ana and Bastion.
Yep. I mean, the idea with Reaper is that you need to be teleporting from cover to cover. Cover so that you don't get shot, so you maintain the element of surprise. From cover so that you don't get poked and that you maintain the element of surprise, right?
Yep.
So here it's like this is lazy, right? You should already have been here, and then this is your best angle for your approach, right? Perfect cover, saving time, and you're also and this is what we talked about Reaper sandwich, right? Because I know what's behind you.
Yeah.
See this, right? Okay, so this is where if you're TP from an angle here, you're able to keep all of your, like, I mean, obviously Lucio, but like keep your real threats in front of you.
Yeah, for sure.
Want to be bordering the enemy team, not hugging them. Nice shot, though.
Thank you.
I think that's definitely something that's underrated. We talked about low mechanic requirement characters, but the difference between a 1-shot and a 3-shot is a big deal. Right. And that's
deceptively difficult.
It is deceptively difficult because you get the headshots, right? You hear dink, 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 but not all of those pellets are going on the head.
No, you're doing 20 damage.
Right. So you're like, you know, the way with Reaper is you should be counting like how many shots it's taking you to kill somebody. And you should always try to shrink that number.
Gotcha, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that was well done.
Thank you.
A little bit of greed here. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
You've got pocket here. They're down supports. I think I would go for this as well. I don't think it's a bad thing.
One of my more toxic mental aspects is when I'm down below a rank that I feel I deserve, I start to reflexively disrespect the enemy team, and that's where a lot of my mistakes
I mean,
come from.
as long as you recognize that as toxic, then I think we're okay.
Okay.
Because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where it's like you start to play like the rank that you're at, and then all of a sudden you're like, you know, why am I losing? Well, because you're playing like a Masters player in a Masters lobby. Of course you're going to have it. Now, this is tricky because this is where we go, I would say, on the fence. Because you look at this and you're like, this is value, right? All right. But it's not quite shooting Winston in the jaw value, right?
Yeah.
So then there's a real question here, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can see where we're probably going with this, right? What's your
I
alternative?
think so. TP in, get another flank on the back line.
Sure. What's the problem about that in theory?
The entire enemy team can chase me, and I can't necessarily get back to my team.
Why not?
It's a very, very long divide to cross over the entire point and make it back to the arches that my team's at.
In theory, I would say it's long enough. Well, your Wraith will last long enough for it to work. As long as it's from here to here, which it will be.
Yeah.
The other thing as well, the irony as well with Reaper, is that sometimes you have to just trust that your team will capitalize off of it.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you time it well and you give yourself as much opportunity for your team to follow up, then it's worth the risk. There's always risk, right? There's always a risk of like, I distracted 5 people, my team is an idiot. But you have to load the dice in their favor. The reason I wouldn't go for it now is obviously because you don't have Wraith, but as soon as you get this Wraith, like now, I'm TPing.
Yeah, oh, this is embarrassing.
Yeah, I'm TPing 100% here. because you're looking at these turrets here, but you got to think about like what's the biggest threat right now. It's that Ana, it's that Bastion, it's that Symmetra. And you are too far away. You have Wraith. You have your team. Your Ryan is doing his job. Your Ryan is creating that threat that's going to allow you to TP safely. And you have an angle, right? You don't have to. You don't have to TP into the middle of the enemy team. You can TP on the periphery, right? And even if this Bastion comes out of form and starts plunking you away, well, you're okay. You got a Wraith. You got a Wraith. You got a cover. You're cooking. This is literally perfect Reaper, whatever. That's just stupid. It's literally perfect. But see, like, I'm not even concerned about you dying to Bastion. I'm concerned about the fact that you had Wraith. You had a TP angle. The Ryan was too far away, and you chose to shoot Symmetra turrets.
No, it's a great point.
Right? That's the priority for me.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I'm often worried about being too aggressive, and maybe I don't notice when I'm not aggressive enough.
Well, notice that I'm not using the term aggressive or not aggressive or passive. Why? What are we really looking for? Were you too passive there? I mean, what does that even mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because if I had done that teleport, it would have been more or less the same risk factor, but with way
pretty
more
much. Exactly. Because there's the risk of you dying. I mean, you freaking died to Bastional, right? Like there's a risk. There's a risk there, right? There's a risk of you getting naded or slept or Symmetra shot, like orbed, right? So like, there's always a risk. So it's like it's more about like, does my risk to reward like make any sense? So it's like it was more about you not taking the flank and less about aggression versus passivity.
Passivity. Yeah.
Passivity. There's some words that just do not flow well. Maybe it's my mouth. Okay.
Sure, I get it.
This is kind of unfortunate. This is just, you need to know what their comp's going to do more than anything else. I don't mind this angle here because your team is clearly going to fight here, and this angle is close. It's on an off angle. On the outside, it's just, they TP'd a point. Unlucky. Fine. Now, think about it for a second. What are your options? It's tricky, isn't it?
From this moment.
Yeah, from this moment, because this is a very important moment.
Yeah. See, that it would not occur to me to go in aggressively when they have Ana with cooldowns, when they have the turret set up, when they have all of these off angles with the Symmetra and the Bastion. This is where I'm just gonna posture at the arches until my tank like gets up there and we figure out something.
So you're thinking about like what happened in the first couple of fights, where it's just like walk forward my tank, poke, wait for some aggression, then either push hard or hopefully look for TP backline, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Look at where your Rhine is. Look at where you are. You could cheat the system.
Oh man.
You could TP here and set up immediately for backline. And you're like, I'm going to be late. Yep. But you know what? Your Ryan's not ready either.
Yeah.
You're waiting on him anyway. So if you're going to be posturing passively before you go in for an aggressive play anyway, you might as well do it where you're already on the outside looking in.
Great point.
Something to consider.
Yeah.
I don't think your alternative, which I assume you're going to do here, is bad. But there's options here.
Yeah.
Because this is fine, right? There's no sort of aggression here.
It's a little bit of a sussy cooldown usage, but
yeah, I think it's tricky. Like I understand like turrets, somebody's got to break the turrets here, but I don't think that you're the best guy for it usually, because like that hurts, like that hurts.
Yeah.
Thankfully, your team is
trust anyone else to get him.
I was gonna say, thankfully, your team is measuring their aggression pretty well, but then your Ryan pins in and gets knighted and dies. I think this is one of those situations where it's like there would have been your best bet here would have been, hey, we're passive. Okay, we're okay here. I mean, your brig is kind of in. Your Rhine is basically full. I mean, pressure is going to be happening here. What should you be considering at this point in time? With that Overwatch moment on your face right now.
Yeah.
We'll give you a little bit better vision.
I guess I do want to go in, right?
Right, sure do. I mean, look at it, right? Outside TP. You could TP from here to here. You have Wraith. You not only have Wraith, but you have 100 rally armor, right? You have your Death Blossom. If they all turn and focus you, you will live. You have Wraith, you have many, you have 100 extra HP, and your team is posturing and is pushing, right? So let's go, right? Let's go.
Yeah, yeah.
Force
great
that
point.
CD, force that sleep dart, force that nade that's going to enable your Death Blossom afterward. Force that nade, force that sleep dart, force that Lucio that's going to allow your Reinhardt to push. Because that's the other thing too, is like the Reaper is in many ways a tank, like a lot of flankers are, where you don't want to be the first guy going in, but if you go in with your tank and they all focus you, your tank is going to like smoke a cigar just walking down main, take no damage whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
And also your Tracer, look what your Tracer's doing, right? Tracer's got Bastion looking at her. And that's kind of like what you and your Tracer could be doing this together. But you're so, like, obviously your Wraith gets forced. That's the most important thing. But then obviously here it's just like,
Yeah.
At this point, I don't even know that I'd go for the play, to be honest with you.
Yep.
I think I just,
as soon as I noticed my Rhine go down, I was...
Yeah, I think I just back out, see if they overextend, look to punish. I think she just blinked off the map here. Or she recalled off the map.
Oh.
That happens.
Yeah, I see I'm just missing these opportunities.
Right. Okay, now you're right. What's your opportunity here? Think about it.
Man.
Have your CDs. Your Ryan is not pushing yet, but what should you be doing once this Ryan turns his corner?
Yeah, I can. Well, what's occurring to me right now is that I can even teleport up to that window to get easy flank on the back.
Exactly.
Line.
That's it right there. You sit here and remember from cover to cover, so they don't even see you coming.
Yep.
So you go here. You know as your tank turns a corner. And is this Wraith going to make it to your team? Yes. It's going to be close, but yes. Your Wraith will make it to about here, which is exactly where you need to be. You got a Mega, you have your team, it's perfect. And so you will honestly, in many ways, allow your team to walk out of the choke. It's kind of what you're doing. Either going to ignore you and you're going to kill 6, or they're going to focus you and your team's going to walk out the choke for free.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way to look at Reaper. It's like even when you are like, I don't get kills, they all focus me, it's like your team can capitalize off of that. That's okay. And you are all in on the Symmetra turrets.
Yeah, I got a weird obsession with the Symmetra turrets.
I mean, I understand, but not when there's a Reinhardt right here. This is priority. Like, you need to keep yourself alive. You need to keep your Rein alive. This Rein is like, you could do so much damage to this Reinhardt at this range, right? I mean,
I may have checked out of this play.
Yeah, I mean, it was not a good spot. I mean, it's kind of, your guys were kind of cooked. Okay. Now, again, you see it, right?
Yeah.
This is your time for glory, right? I don't know if that you would go for a window here. You could also TP behind Bastion. Now, is this from cover to cover? Not exactly, but maybe it's worth it. If you could even TP to this angle on the Lucio here, the only thing that you're worried about is CC. That's the only thing that you're worried about, or a one-shot, right? Because you could play around Bastion and Lucio Boop and Symmetra, but you can't get slept. You slept, you die. You can't get headshot by Hanzo. I know it's not a one-shot anymore, but it's close enough, you're going to die.
Yeah,
right? So if you could TP around those immediate instant threats, even if they see you coming, you're still going to get value.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you're getting value here, right? This is the Winston thing, right? Where you are getting value, but until your team popped this BAP window, I don't think you were getting a lot of value.
Yeah, true.
Right? It's like, oh, it's the safe play, you know? And I think that there's more value to be found elsewhere. Case in point, Bastion. The only reason that your team is able to walk here is because your Baptiste shot the Bastion. I needed you to be shooting Bastion, but you couldn't. You literally could not. Like, I think the only reason he died is because he walked into the wall.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to get sandwiched here a little bit, but you are up 1, and you are timing this well, right? So your team. So I think this will probably work. Yeah.
Yep. Turned out well.
Right, yeah. And you could almost, you see how you could predict that, right? You could just look at the setup, look at the timing, and then it was all right. Now, I would have preferred coming from the outside because this old lady's scary, but she doesn't have CDs, so you're fine.
I took the guess that she didn't have it.
Yeah, I mean, it was mid-fight, right? Mid-fight. So she's likely to have used them on the window earlier. I mean, the later you go with Reaper, sometimes, the better. Not always, but yeah. Sure. Thinking about it. Sure. Don't need to do anything cute if you could just shoot a Bastion in the freaking face, right? So.
Yep.
I mean, this is, even if you die here, your team's going to win this fight. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions so far?
I don't think so. I'm noticing. Yeah, it's just. This is what drives me crazy. Is back in the day, I would have thought of all this stuff, but now it doesn't even occur to me. These TPs. I had already written off the possibility of going in. I guess.
Yeah. Well, you got to know what you're looking for, right? You got to be planting the seed in your brain. And then now I need you to kind of like practice looking for those situations, because you're going to do this and you're going to feed, right? You're going to go, oh, I wasn't going from cover to cover. Or another common error, which you will make even at a high level, is you'll mess up your timing. Like you'll TP in and your Rhine won't be back yet, or your Winston's still waiting for bubble or something like that. So they all focus you, your team can't help you, and then you die. That's bad too. You'll miss your shots. You'll TP to a bad angle. Right, because we talked about that, right? You want to go on the outside, you want to go to cover, and so on. So, okay, let's keep going here. Now, value, sure, but you're probably feeling a little restless right now, right? Where this doesn't feel as useful as when they're on Winston, right? Like this is not bad, but it's not good either. Now, I'd also say here, if you were to push frontline here, please do so with your Rhine. I really would hate to see your Wraith forced right now.
Yeah.
That is, one May Icicle, one Bashing Grenade, one Nade, anything here. So be really careful. So what are your opportunities here? So like, let's say that you just stack with your Rhine, 3, 2, 1, and you walk on them like this. That's fine. That's great. What other options do you have?
I could definitely throw a TP behind that one barrier, or I think it'd be better
like
to
here?
Peek out right. Yeah. I
Okay.
even think it would be better to peek out right side and take the TP down to that back staircase.
To here?
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
I agree. And you see how like this allows you to deal with Sleep Dart? Why? Because you're freaking looking at her. You're looking right at her, right? Even if you didn't, you could TP here. And if you time this with you,
gank that Bastion so easy.
It's so easy. And you also, again, consistently know you're going from cover to cover with a very consistent and safe path back to your team. Or not even back to your team, just back to cover. You could Wraith out to coast, grab the Mega, or go right back in again, right? As long as you have an escape route. This is a comp that Reaper's good versus, because there's nothing that's going to chase you and kill you. So, yeah, I mean, I think opportunities, I like the angle you have here, but it's very early. And I think there are better angles to have.
Yeah. You're right.
Because it was good. Like, it wasn't bad. I think you're probably looking at this fight and going like, what the heck, man? Like, I did my job, right? But it's always one of those situations where it's like, especially because sometimes you doing a good job isn't good enough, right? Like this might be a low Masters Rhine, and you're the highest ranked player in this lobby. So the matchmaker a you to perform at, a GM5, GM4 level, and you're performing at a Masters 1 level. Well, that's not going to win you the game.
Yeah, true.
I had this moment whenever I used to play quick play with like silver friends, or gold friends and IRL friends. I'm like, why I'm doing so well? Why are we not winning? Well, that's not good enough, I mean, how fair would it be if it was expecting me to play like a gold player? The team would always get dumpstered. So, even here, especially when you're pushing through a choke, I mean, look at this, right? Like, what on earth are you supposed to do? Like, you're doing no damage. Like, even the risk here is still here, too. That's the funny thing is, like, you could still get naded here. You could still get, shot. You could still get icicled from here. So how do you take space? From cover to cover. What are your options? I'd say there's probably only 2, right? What are those 2 options?
Yeah, the main one is just up to that cute little staircase.
Right. Perfect. And the best part about this is you could choose to go back and shoot tank in the back or go for the Ana. Either one works, because you don't even have to worry about the Ana when you're here, right? Because she can't see you. So you're not worried about the quote unquote sandwich because they can't see you. What is your other option? Think a little bit creatively.
Wrap around and go for the post teleporter.
Right. So do you have an angle here? You notice that it gets you closer. Not just an off angle, but it gets you closer. Because that's the thing with Reaper, right? You don't always have to go for an angle, although angles are nice, if you're up in somebody's face, right? That's why that first fight, we talk about, there were better opportunities, but it's not the worst thing you could have done.
Yeah.
But you definitely have to go for an angle if playing main doesn't get you close, because your character doesn't do anything here.
Yep.
It doesn't do anything, right? So I can't imagine this fight's going to feel very good. Maybe I'm wrong. You're getting some good damage now because you're getting close. This is heaven right here, right?
Yep.
Especially if you hit your shots. Like now, but the funny thing is my instincts as like a hard stack Masters player. No, my instincts are like, what? You see this?
Mm.
Think about it. Where should you go?
Um, I mean, I could wrap around the left side, or I can teleport in
Sure
to
could.
the coast pack.
You sure could. You could teleport coast. I think just simply wrapping left here is your best angle,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you're like, oh, well, I'm just as close to the Ram as I am to the Bastion, but the Bastion is easier to kill,
Yes.
right? Fewer shots, more split, less crap that you have to deal with. I mean, look at this, right? This wall isn't even intended for you. It's intended for your Rhine, and yet you're getting caught in it, right?
Yep.
Take the angle. Got hit for a nade that, again, was not intended for you. Was intended for your Rhine.
Yep.
And so by the time you do go on the angle, you've already taken damage. You've already taken too much poke. And so even though this is, a pretty reasonable TP, I mean, it's migraine inducing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I think
I know.
30 HP. That's my bet.
Oh. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took too long.
That's crazy. So this is one of those fights where, like, with the power of hindsight, the margin of error was so small,
Mm-hmm.
You're like one shot away from winning that fight, like a slightly better angle, slightly less poke away from winning that fight.
Yep.
And those are the ones that suck. And like even here, like you get your Wraith forced first, and so the Rhine goes in while you're going out, and now you guys are totally desynced. So your Rhine creates a lot of space by feeding, but you're not there to help them, and so it's just a big mess. I like this angle. Sneak right, sneak right. Good ego with a Wraith there. Probably just get out here. Yeah, I mean, at least either not
99.
by get out, I mean either like commit to a corner or commit to their corner or something. You just kind of stood there. Okay, so that's an L there. So you're noticing here that we're kind of sharpening up our vision. Like as the more fights go by, our vision of what needs to be fixed gets a little clearer and a little clearer.
Yeah.
A little clearer, right?
Yeah, I'm saying
I don't like this. See, even this, right? Even this is not thinking ahead enough. This maybe is something that happens. I don't know how often this happens in your games, but this only works if they TP to point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even if they do TP to point, who's here to fight with you?
Yeah, not much. Just maybe Tracer.
So then, does this angle get you close to the enemy team?
No.
No. So it's just not a good angle for you. Now, I understand that this map can be a bit of a nightmare, right? But what's your alternative? What's your alternative, right? First off, you got to wait for your tank. What's your alternative?
I don't think I've ever teleported to that house before.
You should.
Yeah,
it's just
occurring to me now.
I mean, obviously, you don't want to. And sometimes you're going to have to predict, but you don't always want to have to predict. You want to react to what you see. But I certainly, with what I'm seeing now, TP in here, great cover to cover, mega health back, great angle, but more importantly, your great proximity.
Yes, true.
So, I mean, this is heaven right here, right? You're going to be your best bet. Now, if fights break out in point, you're going to want to angle around point, do all this kind of shenanigans here, but they aren't. So you're playing Sniper Reaper.
Yeah, again, yep.
You've got the angle, but you've watched too many Spylo videos, and this angle is meaningless. So, it'd unironically be better for you just to sit on a bridge, where you would actually be reaching something. Because the reality of this fight is it's like, what could I have done better? Well, you didn't get punished, but you provided no value. So your team got punished in your place.
Yep. Oof.
Right. Well, we're not all winners, I guess.
Yeah, this is my big problem. I get so lazy when I'm in a lobby where it's like I'm noticing everybody else's mistakes, but I'm not noticing my own as much.
Right. And it's worth pointing out as well that the laziness immediately leads into sloppiness in this particular way. When you're lazy or autopiloting, you should always pay attention to like what's the first mistake I make when I'm lazy or autopiloting? Because that's probably your weakest standpoint. Because it's the thing that it's not natural to put effort into. Because we're noticing that how many times have you screwed up your Wraith? How many times have you screwed up your mechanics? Maybe a few times. How many times have you screwed up your ultimates? Right? It's been okay, right? It's been not too bad, right? It's because those things maybe feel a little bit more natural to where it's like, I'm not an idiot. I mean, I wouldn't do that, right? Okay, then why are you doing this? I think it's because it's not that it doesn't come as natural. It's just you haven't put as much effort into it. Like even here, right? Yes. Like this is the same problem, right? Where it's like, I appreciate the TP, I appreciate the angle, the timing isn't too bad, right? You're pushing up here with the Orisa, but the angle sucks.
It does.
It sucks. It's so far, right? It's like this is like last resort. It's not even necessarily that this angle is bad, but this angle is bad given what you've seen. There might be circumstances where this is really good, just not right now.
Mm-hmm.
Not with what you've seen now.
Yeah, they're so far.
Yeah, it's even well executed. That's the funny thing, right? You time it well. You shot the best target from the angle that you had, which was the Mei. You turned to the Lucio. Mm-hmm. You greeted your Wraith very well. She should have walled you there, but she didn't. And you get pack. You go back and you hold the angle. I mean, this is great. It's like you're executing. It's like you're playing something from Stravinsky perfectly. It's beautiful, but it sounds awful. So like, congratulations. I think
Yeah. No, I see the problem for sure.
So again, to be very clear, that was a good play, just the wrong one. It was well executed, but the wrong play. Which is why you guys win the fight. Even the wrong angle, well executed, will win you fights. Case in point, right? You did a great job that fight. So just find better angles now, find better positions. Even here, right? Like this is okay-ish, but is there a better position?
Yeah.
Is this the best angle?
Left TP. There's there's lots of options to flank and harass the team as they come up here.
Yeah, I'm gonna expand your brain a little bit here too. So you're holding here, and I think that your Orisa pushes up because she's trying to help you. Maybe? I don't even know. No idea. But this is the last choke I would want to hold as Reaper.
Right. Just
why?
No. I mean, it becomes a long angle as soon as they peek out, and
Exactly.
I almost have to commit Wraith to get out.
What flank do you have from here?
Well, I was looking at teleporting to the left side of bridge here and playing that doorway.
Sure. Here's a question. What happens if you let them walk onto point and you can off-angle from either side?
Yeah, it's probably better.
You know what I'm saying? Little things like that you need to be looking for. Just little things. We're thinking teleporter, but as you see here, sometimes you don't even need to. It's better if I would avoid teleporter when you can. The ability sucks, right? So when you could create a short off angle without having to use teleporter, then you're cooking, right? And I think on this point in particular, the more it breaks out on a point, the better it is. Like even them pushing out to where you can wrap around this side is an opportunity. But I think even just playing these angles here, really, really good. But no, you're stuffing the choke. Let them come out. Let them walk out, right? Now, if your Orisa pushes up, you're going to have some issues. Maybe when your Orisa pushes up, that's when you go for a teleporter back here and look for something here. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, for sure, I see.
Good? I mean, that's tough. I will say, this is what we talked about the sandwich, though, right? Where like having a better angle with less sandwich is good because look at what you died to, right? If I freeze frame here, you see this? This is the sandwich. 1, 2, 3, 4. The reason that you die with Wraith is because you didn't know the Ramattra was behind you. So you couldn't reactively Wraith to damage you didn't see.
Yep. True.
Because you're like, oh, that Ana's not even looking at me, so I can greed my shots. And you could have if the Ramattra wasn't there.
Yep.
Obviously, redundant here. Again, I don't mind this. Now, the funny thing is I actually don't mind this if you sit here and hide. Why? What happens?
Yeah, when they push on, I have the opportunity for a point blank shot or two.
That's it exactly. That's it exactly. Right. Yeah. So you, by leveraging point, pull them closer to you, right? So you actually create the range that you want. Now, could we ask ourselves, would the flank to the building be better? Maybe, maybe not. I don't really know, to be honest. That's something that you might want to go experiment with. But I like what you did. There was some logic behind it, right? We're peeking them a million miles away.
Yeah.
All right. Sure. Cover to cover. They don't see you. Off angle. Maybe bring them close. Your Tracer is Death Wish.
Oh. Oh no.
It happens. I mean, this is kind of like where you could look at it like your team is just self-imploding. So, I like the angle. I like everything about it. Your team just trolled. But, there's a certain percentage of fights where you were the dead weight. And so now it's like their turn to be the dead weight. And so.
Yeah, exactly. If I
like the angle, like the timing, the TP, the ult was fine. Just, it is what it is. Okay. We have more time. If you'd like to look at a little bit of another code, we can.
Yeah, we can. Honestly, I picked this one because it was the least embarrassing. So let's
Well,
just let's pull up this Hollywood. I don't even remember what mistakes I make, but
sure.
let's see if we can learn
Well,
something.
it might be fun because Hollywood is also such a, we the answers were, I wouldn't say easy, but easier because the map is friendly for you. But Reaper's one of those
Mhm.
heroes where, I mean, it's tough sometimes.
Yeah,
There's going to be some maps that are really, really open and you're going to have a hard time. So let's see what your solution is.
yeah. So I believe it's Go Soldier.
Okay. Well,
We're
we'll
gonna find
see.
out.
That is certainly a good solution. But before you feel the need to do that, how are you going to not be dead weight? Basically, is the idea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this. This is a great angle. Why? Because you can shoot tank. Why? Because you can wrap the backline without using Wraith,
Mhm.
without using TP, right? You can go pressure. And not only that, but if their Genji or their Kiriko or their Symmetra wants to take this off angle onto your team, who wins this 1v1 or who should win this 1v1? Reaper or Ana or Kiriko or right? You know the answer, obviously. So
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
you should win this 1v1 or at least force their CDs. So it's good. This is when being cute isn't necessary.
Mhm.
You need to stop focusing Symmetra utility. Because this is the thing. It's always like, oh, I broke TP. Yeah, but you're losing a 1v1 with Genji.
Yeah, so my dream here is that if the Symmetra and the Ana go in, I get them stuck on an island and we can punish.
Right? But if their Symmetra's is smart, and I guarantee you she is, where's she teleporting to?
Cover.
Cover, right? Cover, high ground, somewhere where there's at least some relative form of safety. So you're being like, oh, they're going to teleport in the middle of our team and then TP back. Oh, no, wait, we're stuck. But no, she's not an idiot, right?
Mhm.
Oh, no, we're stranded.
Yeah, yeah.
Who
I
cares,
guess
right?
if we had dive, it would have made more sense.
Right. Even with dive, right? This is still a pretty safe position. And I'm more concerned about the fact that you're going to be losing a 1v1 because you shot a
Yeah.
teleporter. I understand, but
It's not the best play.
not putting yourself at this much risk, right? So you need to win this 1v1 with Genji.
Yeah, it's kind of like a death wish here.
I mean, it's actually crazy that you don't get. I mean, I was going to say you got his deflect, which is really good, but like that was like remarkably bad from him.
Yeah.
He's not even. You're not even looking at him, and he's still throwing. I don't know why. Oh, we got caught on a reload. That's why. Okay, so but like that should have gone so much worse for you.
That's true.
Okay, you got your Wraith back soon. Just keep holding the angle. Yep.
Probably should have got healing.
That's okay. That's okay. Yep. This is good, right? No, why is this good? What are you doing? Again, I want to be very clear that we were clear on this.
Yeah, I'm trying to generate pressure on the back line, keep them sweating, keep them unable to help the team, and maybe find a pick.
Yep. Short off angle around your team. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. Now, if you were to teleport back here, short off angle, right? But it's all in. You don't know if you can Wraith out, and it's beyond where your team can push, right? Here, perfect. Your team can heal you. Your team is holding here. You don't really have a dive tank. You just have a hog fishing for hooks, but yet he's distracting people so that you can do things like this. They don't want to use this angle. They can't because you're here. You're not far from cover. You have a guaranteed safe Wraith. It's perfect.
Yeah.
The way that you play this 1v1 is poor.
Yeah.
That's a good flick from her, but like your idea needs to be, I cannot get my Wraith forced, right?
Yeah.
So if I feel like, oh, okay, first off, you need to be a little bit careful there. But if I'm like, oh shoot, she's playing cover really well, I can't really commit. That's okay. Just go right back to here and get healing and resume shooting tank. I do not want your Wraith force because remember, without Wraith, you can't punch. You can only jab. You can't cross. You can only tap, right?
Yep. Over aggressive. I got out too late.
Mm-hmm. Pushing too hard for too little benefit. And then what's funny is check what happens. You Wraith out. And then the Genji takes the flank. You see that?
Yes. Yep.
You see that? So now you're exposing your team to that. Now they go, oh, no Reaper, no Wraith, so we can push a little bit more aggressively. And that's exactly what they do. And you're sitting back here like, how could I have stopped this? Well,
yeah, we got lucky.
Yeah. I think, again, in general, like there's an obsession here. Like, look at this obsession with shooting the TP.
Yeah.
You even press W into it, and that cost you your Wraith again, right?
Yeah.
There's a Symmetra and Genji right there. So I guess this is more of a detail than it is like a fundamental macro misunderstanding, but it is a very important detail that you're respectfully screwing up.
Yeah, true.
Okay. You're being sneaky here, but you don't. Again, you don't need to be. Just shoot her. When you see fortify, stop shooting her and mark the flank, right? But you're like, oh, I'm gonna be sneaky, but like, just hold the angle.
Yeah.
You know, don't be.
It pays off, but I got lucky.
Yeah. So what I would say here, to be very clear, like what I'm talking about, you're gonna hold here. You do exactly what you did before. Mark, shoot. Oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. Oh, they're fortified. Hide. Okay, shoot, mark. Okay, go back and shoot the Orisa, right? Just hold the angle. Short off angle. You don't need the element of surprise because this is not a very aggressive play. This is just holding an angle.
Yeah.
Now be careful here. What's the potential problem here?
The potential problem is that I'm about to get wrecked by Genji.
Okay, you're pushed out from cover.
Mm-hmm.
Where's your team?
Yeah, they're nowhere near to help me. I'm
right.
I'm
so
solo fight.
You're guaranteed to get your Wraith Force here because this Genji will get help. You will not. So either you're going to die or you're going to get your Wraith Forced. And then your team is going to push. So that, that's just silly. But also, like, your team is in the act of pushing. Like, you're like, oh, we're up one, let's push. You're running a Roadhog and a Brigitte. They need a little bit. They need a little bit of time. So most aggressive thing you should be doing here is holding this angle and just shooting and waiting. Okay, we're pushing over the wall, right? Mm-hmm. That's a 4v1. And then now team is taking a 4v3, but no, Reaper's dead, so now let's not fight at all. So, okay. Like, you're not, now this entire fight is lost because you're not set up. Now, I want to hindsight coach this and look at what would have happened if you'd been on this angle. Early fortify, so you're going to wrap, right? You're going to wrap. You're going to force on a CDs. You're going to force sleep and nade. Maybe kill her, actually. I think this is actually an opportunity where you could have killed her. So now you're on the Symmetra, shooting. You go back to the angle. I mean, look at this. This is like Christmas, right? Instead, we're shooting a Symmetra wall. Oh, and an Orisa. No, I mean, we don't even need to look at this fight because I think, well, I guess we could look to see if there's any micro errors here because I guess mid-fight here, you're still looking for like, honestly here, you're down one. I might,
Gift ticks.
Well, I might go for something. You see it?
Yeah, I could teleport into security booth.
Sure could. Cover to cover, right? Get in here. Yep. Get an angle. I think it's an aggressive play, definitely, because they know you're going there. It's not because they'll see you. I guess it's not really from cover to cover. It's from open to cover. But I think it needs to happen. I think this fight's lost.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Especially when I see fortified Orisa,
I don't know what's wrong with me, man.
That's okay. That's okay. You are the cleaning up the kitchen, I guess.
Yeah.
Because even this angle here is like, oh, it's a nice angle and all, but it's so far,
Yeah.
You're not really a threat to anybody. I think I realized that with Sombra when I was playing a lot of the new rework Sombra. It's like, I could distract people and put out damage and live forever, but until I was an actual threat to killing somebody, I didn't win games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at this here. You are a threat. You are a threat. You are a threat, right? Not only a threat, but you actually freaking killed somebody, right? And the second that happens, people start to die, right? You are a threat.
Yep.
So, okay. Let's keep going here. Actually, I'm not hearing from my next session, actually. Oddly enough. So let's run a few minutes over if you've got time. That works for you.
Yeah, totally. I do. See, I think
now
I'm scared of the angle where I got punished.
Right. But the irony is that this is infinitely more dangerous. Why? It's close, right? You've got cover. You got to save Wraith. But what's the problem fundamentally?
It's head on.
It's head on. It's head on, kind of, sort of, yeah. But also, where's your team?
Yeah, my team can't help me.
That's the problem. The why this angle was nice is because you had team support. Now your team is backing off here, so maybe there isn't maybe this angle isn't good either, right? In which case, then maybe you'd sit like here and wait,
right?
Or maybe you would even sit back here, or maybe you would sit right here, right? So you need to shift your angle that you're choosing or the short sight line that you're choosing depending on where your team is, because this looks great on paper, but you're gonna get your Wraith Forced for basically free.
Yeah,
right?
Yep.
We knew that was coming, right? And this shouldn't work. It might work, but it shouldn't work because there is zero help from your team. No poke, no hog hook, no Hanzo, no packs, nothing. Now, I assume you saw deflect, Yeah.
Yep. But I did
So
not see the Kiriko.
right. So this might work still, but but that's the thing. It's like you look at that and you're like, dude, you played that one perfectly. You waited to deflect. You saw this. You got 3 people, 4 people, and yet you still died, right? So it's like, again, perfect execution, terrible play.
Yeah.
So you got to kill though. So maybe again, it just sucks to be like, because for you, it's like you're just, it's like, okay, so thankfully you're on the hog, so that's good. But even now, it's like you just don't feel set up,
Yeah, it's true. I'm coming from behind always.
You should die. That's unfortunate. Sure, getting close. I wouldn't chase him because he's too far. Yeah,
Yes.
Stop chasing him. Stop chasing him. Right, it's too far. Like that's the kind of like where you have to have a little bit of that ADHD. You gotta weaponize your ADHD.
Yeah.
As soon as
switch targets.
right, as soon as he leaves, it's like I can't help with them. I'm gonna go back shooting hog or go back shooting Kiriko or Ana. Right, or set up the TP that we talked about earlier and go from here. I think this is probably your best play here from here. But yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're chasing that Genji and he's totally wasting your time.
Yep.
Yeah, this fight's lost. Assume this is where you go soldier. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So what are you seeing? Let's make some notes with Reaper.
Yeah. I'm definitely seeing that there's a lot of opportunities to go on a flank to use my TP and get close that it's not occurring to me, or I don't believe in it. And then I end up in a worse situation. And then sometimes I just go, I give too much, I get too far from my team, and I commit too hard, and I just have to waste Wraith, and then we're on the disadvantage.
Okay. Stop shooting TP turrets. And other targets are available. Minor one, but for you, but definitely important. It's funny because it's like you have the whole Wraith cycle thing down. And your mechanics are fine, ults are fine, but a lot of missed opportunities with positioning. Many missed opportunities with positioning. So look for cover. I'll just throw that one in there. That kind of elaborates on the first point, I guess. It's not really a new point, but just keep in mind, look for cover to cover.
For sure.
And always ask yourself, is a TP even necessary? Doesn't even need. I think preferably no would be great, but sometimes the teleporter is like a necessary evil because you don't have the mobility to get the angle that you want.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
I don't think so. I think you've helped me isolate a lot of my decision-making problems.
Good. Yeah, like I said, like obviously you're Grandmaster, so there's obviously lots of good things to say, but I really think that like you have like the overall idea of how to utilize your Wraith and your pressure cycles, and like I was even noticing that you were doing a good job. I don't have Wraith; I play a little bit more passively. Actually, I'm not going to use that term. You take fewer risks with your position, right? And that's good. I think that's obviously Reaper fundamentals. Not shockingly, you do that well, right? But in terms of when to turn up your risk versus reward ratio, and even when you were taking the angles, making sure that they're not so far is going to be really, really important. Okay. Well,